Welcome one and all to the Hammer Territory Podcast. My name is Shawn Coleman. Hope wherever you are and wherever you are listening, you're having a great week so far. Listen, the Braves may have the day off. We have some days off during the week as well, but not tonight as we're back with you. Once again, the Coleman and Coleman Law Firm. Glad to join you for a second straight time. And Scott, I'm getting familiar with you, man. I don't know what's going to happen when Steven comes back, but good as always to talk with you, sir. I hope you're doing well.
Hey, Shawn, nice to do another episode with you, my friend. And, I just wanted to ask, I don't know if anybody else is feeling this, but as we're recording this here Thursday night, not long ago, a pretty good sized trade went down
Yes.
with the Diamondbacks and the Mariners. And when I got the push alert from Jeff Passan, it kind of made me sad. And it was maybe my first, not realization that the Braves weren't going to be buying this deadline, because obviously we've known for weeks now that they're basically out of it. But it's the first time since 2017 that the Braves are not actively trying to buy and to win and to give themselves a chance to make a run in the playoffs. I don't know, man. I don't know why a trade between the Mariners and the Diamondbacks kind of hit me, but it did. That, for the next week, when we're usually so excited about the trade deadline, what are the Braves going to do? It's more of, okay, maybe they're going to sell Iglesias or Ozuna or, add a mediocre piece for next season. I don't know, man. It's just kind of where I'm at.
No, I absolutely agree. And the problem is because of the fact that at the deadline, you get those immediate benefits, right? Like not only are you getting someone that you immediately will get to see how they contribute to your team, it's you're wanting to do it in a way to where they're going to help you win. And that's what's so exciting about it. And the other thing about it is that we've been so used to it. When we talk about things that this Braves team is doing this year, it's literally been nearly a decade, since 2017, 2016, since they were this bad, since they had stretches of losing as long as they have had this season. So yes, it's one thing to prepare yourself for it, to know that it's going to come at some point. It's another thing when the realization actually settles in. And I'm sure the Braves will make a move or two, but at the most immediate time frame that move may help us out is next year, which is a good thing. You want for that to be the case. If they're making moves, you want for their assets that are coming back to be here to benefit us in 2026 and beyond. But that doesn't take away from the fact that it really is a disappointment.
Yeah. And even going back to like 2015, 16, 17, sure, the Braves weren't necessarily buying, but in a way they were. Like they were selling pieces to then have a future. And right now, the Braves are obviously still in the middle of a contention window, even if it doesn't feel like it. This team has a lot of talent signed for next season. So we'll see what they ultimately decide to do. And I guess this, at least for the next couple of months, Shawn, will be watching from the sidelines. And of course, we'll always do a podcast, especially if they sell. I mean, obviously, then it's like, okay, who are we getting back? What does this player mean for this year, next year, beyond? Whether it's a, advanced minor leaguer who's probably more major league ready, or if they take a chance on an 18-year-old lottery ticket who's in A ball, who we may never see or could end up being something special one day. We'll see what the Braves in the front office are doing. I guess we should timestamp this episode. It's a little bit after 10 p.m. Eastern time on Thursday, July 24th. So inevitably, when a trade goes down, I don't know, at 1 a.m. Eastern time tonight, Shawn, we'll have to round the horses and get another show up.
I was about to be like, we're going to be recording here in 2 hours anyway when something big goes down. But, it's going to be very interesting to see. But, of course, I also think that, trade deadlines of the past, I think that it may be hard to approach that level of excitement again. Not only because, we're buying, but with the introduction of the third wild card, you just have less sellers. You have less teams that are selling. So you're likely going to have a smaller pool of quality players that are going to be out there that make sense. Which gives me actually a little bit of excitement when it comes to this trade deadline. Scott, I want to get your thoughts on this. I know that the Braves have positioned themselves as sellers. I know that the Braves have positioned themselves to where they're likely going to sell only free agents, but they could potentially buy as well. And I really do think that Alex Anthopoulos is probably looking at the opportunity to see if there is some underperforming reliever, arm especially, that he could go get. Could you see that potentially being the headline of this deadline for the Braves? No pun
Yeah.
intended.
Yeah. I think one thing we've learned with Alex Anthopoulos over the years is that he is an outside the box thinker. Like nobody had Chris Sale on the bingo card a year and a half ago. Trades for Sale. So I think Alex does a really good job of maybe thinking like every offseason, there's obvious targets, but I feel like he doesn't generally go get the obvious target for better or for worse. And because of that, while I think we can all say with a straight face that this is not a year where the Braves can win and they have pieces to sell off, I don't think it would be a huge shock to anybody if Alex went out and traded for, player X who could be part of the team next year, a controllable starter, a controllable reliever would be of interest, especially with Raisel Iglesias said to become a free agent. Frankly, Raisel's probably in his last week of being with the Braves anyway. The one thing I will say about a long-term asset on the offensive side of the ball, there's really nowhere to put them outside of maybe shortstop. I mean, I know Ozzy Albies is not having a good year, but I mean, you're not going to trade for a second baseman and bench Ozzy Albies for the second half. Like that's just, you're not going to do that to a veteran like him. I guess if by some chance there's a shortstop out there that we aren't thinking of and Alex goes out and acquires, then, sure, Nick Allen then becomes a really good backup infielder defensively. But I think if we're going to see a more of a controllable asset added, I do think it would be on the pitching side, maybe a reliever, maybe a starter, just because, frankly, this team is going to need it both immediately just to kind of bridge the gap to the end of the year. But then also, obviously, in 2026, you can never have enough good quality, dependable pitching.
Yeah, and the idea of player profiles that I think that we would potentially see Alex Anthopoulos look to target are maybe there is an intriguing middle infield bat profile that's blocked in an organization
Yeah.
that specific player is in the minor leagues. They're doing well. He kind of did that with Nick Allen, and because he loved his fielding. And I know that they would need to be a strong fielder, but maybe the Braves could go out and get that type of player in a deal. Another thing that stands out to me are pitchers who may be underperforming this year, but their metrics seem to encourage plenty of opportunity for growth. We know that he's gone out and looked at those type of players before, acquiring such players like Pierce Johnson from Colorado and Aaron Bummer from the Chicago White Sox. A name that I like that I've consistently liked, though I think that he's kind of struggled to live up to his potential that he showed a few years ago. I believe his first name is Yennier Cano from the Baltimore Orioles. He's got a
Yeah.
really, really intriguing relief profile. He's controllable. I know that the Orioles have every reason to keep him just as much as we want to have him, but I think that that's the type of player that Alex Anthopoulos can go get because that's the type of player he's had success going to get in the past.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And you mentioned like Bummer and Pierce Johnson. When the Braves traded for those guys, neither of them had good like standard stats. Like ERA was awful. I think Pierce Johnson's ERA was in the sixes when they traded for him. And everyone looked around like, oh my God, what on earth are they doing? This guy's terrible. And then you dug in a little bit more and you saw Pierce Johnson splits or Aaron Bummer was really unlucky the season before they traded for him. So, yes, I mean, I think in general, you don't want to overpay for those kind of stats that maybe aren't as sticky, like they're not necessarily predictive of future performance. So, yeah, I mean, if there's a player who is either blocked in the organization somewhere, if there's a pitcher who's maybe having an unlucky or down season, but you feel like you can fix something with his mechanics or build him back up to once promising level, why not try to buy low? I mean, this team could use all of the lottery tickets it can take. And if you strike gold, great. And if you're buying a player who's not having a good season, you're probably not having to give up a whole lot.
Absolutely. And you could take some of the returns that you get from selling off players to go buy these players because you're likely only going to get lottery tickets for the players that you're selling off. So it makes sense. And the other part of it is that, especially when it comes to those type of relief arms, we've been so used to Alex Anthopoulos really being okay having an expensive bullpen. Well, those purse strings are going to be a little bit tighter moving forward, which the past 12 to 15 months have indicated that could be the case. Getting those controllable relievers who you can get good value of, but they're cheap, that could be a really good get for Atlanta. So if that type of profile, if that type of player is out there, I could see Alex Anthopoulos easy going to make that move.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think we've said this on the show a couple times now, but all cards are on the table. Like there's no dumb ideas. Like it's when you have a failing business, like no idea is a bad idea necessarily whenever you're kind of up against it. Clearly, this is a kind of a year of transition for Atlanta, a new manager very likely coming in next season. They could have significant money and roster flexibility depending on what they do in the next week at the deadline. We'll see what the payroll is next season. That is anybody's guess. But yes, it feels like we're at a moment of, hey, what if we think about this? Or maybe this is an unconventional player, but is there something we can do to tap into him if a team is looking to sell low? Sometimes teams are looking to unload a contract. Like behind the scenes, a team might be in a bad shape financially. And it's like the Raisel Iglesias trade a couple years ago. Now, obviously, the Braves were contending when they traded for Raisel 4 years ago, but he was under control. He had 3.5 years and $50 million left on his deal. So if that player is available and if they really like a player, then sure, go out, get them, add for the future. If you feel like they can be a core piece moving on, you could always trade for him now, and you could always kind of lay some foundation for a trade this offseason. If the two sides aren't like desperate to get a deal done, you could always wait until early November and swing a deal that first or second week of the offseason.
That's an excellent point. You see that happen a lot of times in the NBA where the players will be discussed at the NBA trade deadline, and then 4 months later, said player goes to said team. That's a great point, Scott. And I think that's one thing that definitely could occur. If we're hearing rumors about certain players right now, but it doesn't happen, maybe that changes as we go into the offseason. But we talk about relievers. We talk about pitchers who maybe elsewhere did not, live up to their potential or add a lot of value. Then they came to Atlanta and wound up being awesome here. That has kind of been a staple of the Alex Anthopoulos era. And it's hard to find any relievers who have been more beloved in Braves country than one Jesse Chavez. More on him in just a moment after a word from our partners.
Kratz, what do? I'm in a bind and I need to make some food at home. I would like it to be home cooked, but I don't want to deal with any of the grocery crap.
HelloFresh, get it done. And they'll start to know when you're in a bind, and they'll figure it out for you, sending something new whenever you order it. It's freaking awesome.
Yeah, it is. And there are dozens of menu items to choose from each week. They can also help you out if you need a little assistance. They can kind of cater to what your needs are or what your preferences are. They'll do a little Q&A session for you, and then you can be the star at home. Kratz is a superstar dad at home for his HelloFresh expertise. And if you want to get involved, then you can make sure that your summer is more enjoyable and delicious at HelloFresh.com/FT10FM. Get 10 free meals with a free item for life when you do that. HelloFresh.com/FT10FM. One per box with an active subscription. Free meals are applied as a discount on the first box. New subscribers only. Varies by plan.
So, Scott, I don't know if I've ever mentioned to you, but, not to reveal our age or anything, but I think we're probably around the same age. And, I'm probably a little bit older, to make you feel better. But the point that I'm getting at is that one of the shows that I grew up with, one of my favorite shows of all time, is Full House. And, of course, there was Uncle Jesse, who is one of the more Jesse Kasopoulos, one of the more beloved sitcom characters over the past half century, if you will. And I never thought that there would ever be another Uncle Jesse that I would care for. But then along comes Jesse Chavez, and he came again, and he was a part of the team again, and he once again became a part of the team. All joking aside, Jesse Chavez today on the flagship show of Foul Territory itself, actually announced his retirement from baseball. And of course, many in Braves country have fell in love with Jesse Chavez. I know it's been kind of a running source of humor, how many times he's left the team, joined the team, left the team, joined the team, but he's added value in so many ways. First, let's look at the clip that he had with Foul Territory where he announced his retirement. Then Scott and myself will discuss just how much Jesse has and does mean to this Braves franchise.
All honesty, I haven't picked up a baseball since my last pitch in St. Louis. As of now, I don't think we're going to keep going. I think this is it. Time to turn the page, focus on the next chapter in life, and go help all the young kids, all the stuff that I did, so they don't have to take 2 steps backwards. They can take those 3 steps forward.
That's incredible for you to come on here and basically, say your retirement. I'm not going to say you're fully retired because all of a sudden somebody might give you a call for an injury. But again, your career has been absolutely spectacular. Every time I look, I'm like, how how's my boy still playing here? How the heck is he doing it? Because guess what? One, determination. Two, pure athleticism as a pitcher. And you're healthy, man. You're healthy as can be, and you threw strikes and you got after. But I appreciate everything you've done for me, even though we played for a little bit in Texas. We had such a good time being with the boys. And I'm going to say now, congratulations. If this is the end, well-deserved. Ride off in the sunset in your new cars, those old school cars you got, and just skate yourself away, baby, in California. Let's go.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. That means a lot. No, I mean, yeah, this has been a great ride, way more than I expected to from a 42nd round draft pick. The thing is I was given a gift early on. I understood it, but it was, how am I going to make it last? How can I keep it going for this long? And I always said, I want to go out the way I came in, being able to roll out of bed and throw a baseball. And fortunately, I'm still able to do that. And like I said, I had a conversation with my college coach. He's one of the biggest mentors in my life. Then you go to the background of my family, my wife and kids, being there the entire time from day one, and then allowing me to go through this, being a knucklehead and just being stubborn with this, trying to get what we wanted to get accomplished, to where we're at today. And then the people that I came across, you guys, you two in the booth, those conversations we had, the talks, watching you guys go about your business as professionals, the guys I had my first year in pro ball all the way up through till my last day, all the conversations we had, I still took that and tried to learn. And, this game's still about adapting, right? So I felt like I went from, throwing 91, 92 when I came in to throwing 100, and then now throwing, 89, 90. So I always understood how to, if I wanted to stick around, you had to make moves, make adjustments, whether it was, moving on the rubber, throwing a different pitch, committing into one, banging one so it doesn't work because it doesn't work anymore. It was all about that and the conversations I had early on. I think that's all it boils down to.
Man, I mean, first of all, doesn't Jesse Chavez just seem like such a good human being?
Yeah,
Just
absolutely.
Just so insightful. I think so genuinely appreciative that a guy who was taken so late in the draft. And I looked it up. I mean, Jesse Chavez's debut was the summer of 2008, Shawn. 2008. It's a lifetime ago, man. I mean, that's crazy. Jesse also has the famous claim that he is the most traded player in baseball history. He's been traded a million times and has pitched all over the country. And I mean, what a career, what a beloved figure in Atlanta. That anytime Jesse comes back for a game as a fan and they show him on the big board, he's going to get a huge ovation. A guy who did anything it feels like the Braves asked him to. He'd go out there and pitch 4 innings in a blowout, and he'd go out there and pitch in a tie game, especially earlier in his tenure when he was better and really performing with the Braves. And I think just maybe my favorite Jesse Chavez thing is he'd be with the Braves and he'd be awesome. And then he would go somewhere else and he'd be terrible. And then he'd come back to the Braves and he'd be great. And then he'd leave and he'd be terrible, and he'd come back. And it wasn't just a thing like you and I or Braves fans knew. Like, it was a thing around Major League Baseball where if Chavez was with Atlanta, he was awesome. And if he was anywhere else, quite literally anywhere else for like the last 7 or 8 years, he was terrible. And it's just special player. Wish Jesse all the best. And I mean, I'm sure, man, talk about someone who could write a book. I mean, that would be such an insightful read to just hear about all of his memories in the league.
Well, and to your point, he is, there's just so much to like about Jesse Chavez. Number one, he's a genuinely good person. Number two, he far exceeded, I'm sure, the expectations that anybody had for him. I think there was one year where he kind of came out of nowhere as a pretty good starter. I think for the Athletics, it was either for the Athletics or the Blue Jays, I believe. I can't remember which year it was. But then after that, career kind of, fell off to the wayside a bit, but then came back. He reinvented himself, kind of like with that cutter, not to Mariano Rivera cutter, but I think with the Braves, he threw that cutter like 75% of the time. The point that I'm getting at is that Jesse Chavez just is a wealth of information, not only in terms of being successful with other teams, but how to reinvent himself, how to be able to show versatility as a starter or as a reliever. So many of those things stand out. And that's why I think, and he's also a baseball lifer. Like that stands out as well. He's a baseball lifer who wants to coach. And I would not be surprised, Scott, if we find him again in the Braves organization. We know Alex Anthopoulos has loyalty to his former players. We know how much he loves Jesse Chavez. I would not be surprised at all if in a year from now or so we find him having a role with the Braves.
Yeah, they call him coach, and coach for a reason. And not only does he have a wealth of baseball knowledge, but clearly people like the guy. Like I was just looking at his career stats, and he had a good year. You mentioned with Oakland about a decade ago, made 30 starts and was good. But other than that one season, this is a guy who has a career ERA of 4.27. So the fact that Jesse was able to stick around for almost 2 full decades, there's a reason that this guy stuck around. And yeah, if you're telling me that in a year or two it gets announced that Jesse is a special advisor to the pitching coach or an assistant pitching coach or something like that, I could totally see it. And something tells me he'd be pretty darn good at it.
Absolutely. And we wish him the best in retirement, a career well worth so many stories. Again, if he wants to write a book, if he wants to have a Snicker-like presence in baseball for so many years, I don't think anybody's going to get in the way of that. Baseball is just better when you have people like Jesse Chavez involved with it for decades. So wish him all the best. And hey, if it includes being with the Braves once again, certainly look forward to it. Scott, I also wanted to, transition to, we're talking about, players that you just love and personalities that you just love. And one that clearly stands out for this Braves team is Spencer Strider. Wanted to take a few minutes to speak with him. Spencer, yesterday, was on the mound against the Giants once again, kind of struggled on the mound. I think that, we see glimpses of his old stuff being there. The fastball velocity isn't where it once was, but it's pretty above average to elite at times. But there is also a bit of concern. I don't necessarily think that it's just long-term concern, but clearly something that's going to have to work through. And that's the fact. It's a couple of things. When you look at Baseball Savant, Spencer Strider is in the 1 percentile when it comes to exit velocity, meaning that he is one of the hardest hit pitchers in the league, and it's his four-seam fastball. 2002, 2003, 2004, hitters were hitting that ball off of their bat at about 90 miles per hour. This year, they're doing it at 93.3 miles per hour. That is a huge jump. And I feel like that we're to the point to where 50% of the runs he's given up this year have come off home runs. It just seems like that more home runs are being hit off of him as well. Hitters are certainly having more success against his fastball than in the past. The lower velocity could have something to do with that. But what are your thoughts on Strider now about 10 to 15 starts into his return?
So it's a great question. And I think the first thing that comes to my mind is just I'm really happy and relieved that Spencer was able to come back from this elbow surgery and be effective because his numbers are good. Now, are they prime Spencer Strider good? No, and we'll see. But I'm really relieved that Spencer was able to come back from this brace surgery, which has some mixed results, I think you could say, among major leaguers compared to the Tommy John. But the fact Spencer was able to come back, he did have the hiccup with the hamstring strain, which was really unfortunate with the timing. But, for me, I think the fastball is clearly something that Spencer needs to continue to work on. I think the slider looks good, and he also throws that curveball on occasion. But for me, I think if we're going to get to see Spencer fully establish himself and be back to the legitimate ace top 10 pitcher in baseball that we know and love so much, I do think the fastball is something he's going to have to work on. And hopefully, fingers crossed, Spencer pitches well, maybe for the next month and a half. And then I do think they're going to limit his innings and not have him go up until the very final day. And then you have a full off season of 6 months for Spencer to have like a normal offseason of routine building, strength building, a throwing program. I think that's only going to help him moving forward next year. And I mean, let me ask you, Shawn, this time in a year, do you think Spencer will be better than what he's shown? Do you think he'll be about the same? Do you think he'll be worse? Kind of what do you see for that?
I think he'll be better. And the reason why that has actually less to do with the talent that he is and more to do with the person, the mental aspect, and the approach that he has. The reason why I say that I'm a bit concerned is because it seems as if hitters, with Spencer now being in his third or fourth round around the majors, hitters are starting to figure him out a bit. And that coinciding with a bit lower tick fastball, that's not necessarily a good thing. But his fastball still is good enough to be a weapon, obviously. It's still good enough to support him being at an all-star level, even at a Cy Young level. And the reason that I say that is because even if Spencer may not have fastball velocity where it once was, there's no doubt in my mind he is fully capable of reinventing his approach, reinventing his overall, the way that he works through hitters. I think Spencer Strider's got the mentality that anybody would want in their ace, in a pitcher that's there. And I also think he's someone that wants to be on the big stage and win a World Series and be a big reason why the Braves win a World Series. So I think there's no doubt he's going to be better. Will it be to the point that we once saw? It could be in time, or it may not be. But I definitely think that he's going to continue to be an asset for his Braves team. Just wanted to point out that there's some things that still need to be worked through, and hopefully they'll be figured out sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I loved the comments that Spencer made after the game. Obviously, the Braves got their butts beat on Wednesday afternoon. And Spencer was very candid in a way that he just about always is. I think so many athletes are media trained and don't say anything ever. And Spencer is very forthcoming, and he will say what is on his mind, and not just about himself, but the team as the whole. And the fact that this season has just been anything but what they were expecting. So yeah, I'm curious to see what the next month entails for Spencer. You know, he was not very good coming off the hamstring strain. And then he had a stretch of maybe 6 or 7 starts where he was legitimately good. And then that Giant start, man, it just was never pretty. The first inning, I think he threw 30 pitches, did give up an unlucky home run to Rafael Devers, who is just ridiculously talented and just kills the Braves. And the wheels kind of fell off the third time through for Spencer. And obviously the offense did basically nothing. But yeah, I think that's one of the real storylines that I have my eye on is, among many, what does Spencer Strider look like down the stretch? And is there anything to give us concern moving forward? Or do we think with a normal offseason, he'll be even better come 2026?
There's no doubt in my mind that he is going to certainly make sure that he is effective once again for a winner. But hey, part of the process through covering the team is looking at content in so many different ways. It's always fun to see Spencer Strider on the mound. You just hope that elite consistency gets there once again. And if I was a betting man, I would put more money on the fact that I think that will be the case rather than it not. More to come in just a moment after another word from our partners.
You know about the best place to buy, sell, trade, or look for that special card in your world. It's called Arena Club, and Eric Kratz just went through a little slab pack experience, and you went big. You went for the Ruby pack.
I love it. I love clicking on the Ruby pack and knowing that I'm going to open something that is going to be epic. I got a Cal Ripken Jr. autographed 1/42. I'm keeping it right now, but I would love to have it in my hand, so I might even have them send it to me. Already graded, everything taken care of for me.
That's right. You want to hang it up and stare at it all day, go for it. But if you're in there to get something else or to sell it away, you can do that. They've got the buyback program, or you can put it on the marketplace yourself. Tons of options. This is where the best cards live. It's arenaclub.com/foul and use the code FOUL for 20% off your first slab pack, or if you'd like to purchase a card, 20% off your first card purchase. Again, arenaclub.com/FOUL. Use code FOUL.
So, Scott, of course, the Braves will be back on the road tomorrow. Actually, the Braves will not be back home at Truist Park until after the trade deadline. So it's very realistic that some players could have thrown their last pitch or had their last at bat, maybe for this season, maybe forever in a Braves uniform, this past week. The Braves, though, will be traveling to Globe Life Park. They'll be playing another team in the Texas Rangers who, kind of like the Braves, after they won a World Series, fell off a bit more than people may have thought. I think that Texas is definitely still in the mix this year for the playoffs. Their pitching has been outstanding. But the thing that strikes me is that the first pitcher that we're going to be facing is nearly old friend Nathan Eovaldi. And the reason that I say that is because he may have been the most prominent name that the Braves were connected to early in the offseason. And there's no doubt that there was likely legitimate interest, but he wound up re-upping with the Rangers. I'll give Alex Anthopoulos credit, Scott, because Eovaldi has once again been incredible this year. When it comes to old pitchers who remain effective in their mid-30s or later, Anthopoulos does well in identifying them. Morton, Iglesias, Sale, he does well doing that.
Yeah, he does. Alex has a type with his pitchers. And I mean, okay, would it be the difference in the Braves being good or not this season if they would have come to terms with Nathan Eovaldi? Probably not. But the guy has been awesome. One of the best pitchers in the American League. The Braves will see Eovaldi on Friday night. It'll be Joey Wentz starting for Atlanta. So that's interesting. Joey pitched well in his 2 appearances so far with the team. And then we have Grant Holmes, and then we have Bryce Elder. So say a prayer. The Rangers are really hot right now. I think they've won something like 8 out of 10 and something like 10 out of 14 or something going back. So Texas playing good ball. They're a fringe playoff team. And then, I mean, you mentioned it, man. This is a long road trip. Now, you have the Rangers. They won't see any great teams, but they see the Rangers. Then they go to Kansas City to see a Royals team that's hanging around. And then they go play the Cincinnati Reds, who, I mean, the Reds might be the quietest above 500 team in the majors right now. So, yeah, I mean, it's not that we're
Speedway Classic.
That's right. Did you see those hats? That was the flame hats. Did the jokes about those? They said every small town in America has that same Braves hat at a mechanic shop, at a Dairy Queen. Like they knew what audience they were targeting.
Grant Holmes looked absolutely immaculate in that hat.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. If folks missed it, the Braves were playing a game at a speedway and they have special jerseys for them that actually looked pretty cool. So it'll be Braves and Reds. That'll be, I mean, aren't they trying to sell like 70,000 tickets or something crazy like that?
Absolutely. And the thing is that it needs to be said, it's in Bristol, Tennessee. I didn't mean to kind of derail the conversation, Scott, but it's in Bristol, Tennessee. The last big sporting event that occurred there was Tennessee versus Virginia Tech back in 2016. We're talking about a place that can hold up to 150 plus thousand fans. I'm surprised for a baseball game, they're not able to sit there and get 100,000 in there. But yes, I think that they may be even going for 75,000 plus.
Wow. That'll be cool. I mean, it's unique. I mean, it makes sense for 2 teams from the general region to play there. So we'll see. Obviously, wins and losses right now. What are you going to do? A win, sure, you're happy the Braves won, and a loss, it makes you 1 game closer to better odds in the lottery and maybe getting the number 1, number 2 pick next summer.
Well, Scott, we'll end with this because there's one other interesting dynamic to all of this is that we've talked about the fact that the Braves offense over the past 10 games or so has been a bit better, has seemed to click a bit more. And that coincides with 2 things. We've talked at length about the Murphy and Baldwin and Murphy being in the lineup together as the catcher DH, but also no small fact, Ronald being in the 3rd spot is something that has definitely been a change in the lineup as well. Now, I'm not yet convinced that is the best spot for Ronald. I just think at the end of the day, all that he offers, you want that in the leadoff spot. Number 1 is being the bat that comes up most often for you and sets the table for everybody. But there's no denying that he also has been pretty successful, and he does get pitches consistently for Matt Olson. What are your thoughts on that experiment so far? Something we're likely to continue to see going into the second half.
You know, up until the last 2 games of the Giants series, the lineup looked really good. He was putting up crooked numbers and it was working. Of course, then they scored 3 runs in garbage time and then got shut out the other night. So what are you going to do? But, you know, I'm curious, and we didn't say this earlier, but Austin Riley is believed to be returning this weekend. We don't know that, but with Riley back, I am interested to see what kind of lineup Brian Snitker runs out there. I agree with, obviously, Acuna batting leadoff. He's so dynamic. It means he gets the most at bats. But as we saw for 3 months this season, the lineup just wasn't working. So I was fine with changing it up. I love Acuna and Olsen batting back-to-back because those are your 2 best hitters. I love Baldwin batting 4th because then you have a really good 2-3-4 with Olsen, Acuna, and Baldwin. Murphy 5th. He can run into a homer. And I don't know. I mean, so far, Jurickson Profar hasn't set the world on fire in the leadoff spot, but he's been fine. I think he has like a 105-ish WRC plus, which is a far cry from what he was last year. But, you know, I think you probably take it, especially for a guy who missed half of the season. So I'm curious to see what kind of lineup they run out there and if this is more of the norm or if Snit says, okay, that's enough. Let's get Ronald back to the first spot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't necessarily think anything that we see this year. I enjoy the creativity, trying something new. I don't necessarily think it means it's going to work into next year, but we'll wait and see. So obviously, and you hope, obviously, there's no lingering effects from, Acuna. I know that he got a little banged up on Tuesday, was out of the lineup on Wednesday. That's perfectly fine if they want to hold him out of the lineup every now and then. But just hope, he's certainly in the lineup. It's more fun when he obviously is. By the way, Scott, I looked it up. Within 0.25, what is Jesse Chavez's career ERA at Truist Park? Or Truist Park.
Great question. At Truist Park, I'm going to go with 3.4.
2.48 is his ERA. The best ERA of any park that he's thrown 30 career innings at. He's thrown 98 innings at Truist Park. So legitimately, it shows just how good he is. So again, congratulations to Jesse on an excellent career. Best of luck to him in his future endeavors. And you know what? For all of you listening, I hope that you have a wonderful night yourself. Have a great start to your weekend. If it includes the Braves, absolutely. Hope they win for you. If it doesn't, heck, I don't blame you. But the thing is, we're going to have you covered no matter what as we lead up to the trade deadline, past the trade deadline, and going forward almost every single day. You can find Hammer Territory across all forms of social media, part of the Foul Territory family of podcasts. Make sure you check out the show. You never know what content is going to be on the show. Scott Coleman at Scott Coleman 55 on X/Twitter. My name is Shawn Coleman at StatsSAC. Make sure you check out all the great content that's come recently, including some draft thoughts from Guru Abditic, friend of the show, who was with Brad Rowland the last time, or just earlier this week, discussing the draft. So much more to come content-wise with the trade deadline and many other things to enjoy. Until next time, go Braves. We'll talk to you again soon here on the Hammer Territory podcast.